Another day, another news story about terrorism in this world. This time it comes from the Jerusalem Post, which reports that a Canadian citizen was arrested in Bulgaria for being part of a plot. Joining us now from the Jerusalem Post office in Israel is Benjamin Weinthal. He's a fellow with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Benjamin, welcome to the show. You wrote a story that I don't think has been published in Canada yet, but it's all over the Bulgarian news. That is, there was an arrest made in a terrorist plot out there, and one of the people arrested was a Canadian.
Correct. A source in Sofia told me that a middle-aged woman with a Canadian pass who's Iranian traveled to Sofia via Istanbul and began to surveil a Chabad Jewish center in Sofia. This took place shortly after an Iranian Hezbollah operation murdered 5 Israelis and their Bulgarian bus driver last July in Burgas, Bulgaria. She was arrested, this woman with a Canadian passport, detained, and we don't know exactly what her status is right now, but there was a concern that she was plotting a similar style attack that took place in Burgas.
Huh. Now, why is Bulgaria such a hot spot? Where there was the terrorist attack you referred to, this plot was uncovered. Is there a large Jewish community in Bulgaria? Why would that place catch the attention of terrorists?
Well, according to counterterrorism experts with whom I've spoken to, and I did travel to Bulgaria to hear the results of their report implicating Hezbollah as the terror group behind the Burgas attack, there's a consensus that Bulgaria has very porous border control policies, and their counterterrorism strategies are not as advanced or sophisticated as, for example, Canada or the United States.
Huh. Now, you mentioned Hezbollah was implicated in the terrorist attack there last time. Iran uses Hezbollah as sort of a foreign legion, doesn't it? I mean, were they implicated in the attack on the Jewish center in Buenos Aires years ago? Is that why they're targeting Chabad? They like to attack these Jewish outposts around the world?
Correct. Iran and Hezbollah are sort of engaged in a division of labor. They're both dividing their work to target both Jewish institutions like the Chabad Center as well as Israeli diplomatic institutions. This past week, and it was on the front page of the Jerusalem Post yesterday, we wrote a story about another Iranian who was using a false Israeli passport who was arrested in Kathmandu in Nepal and was surveilling Israel's embassy there. And the Israeli security personnel believe he was aiming to plot to attack the embassy. So that's what's been taking place across Europe and Thailand, India. You have a shadow war that's being engineered by Hezbollah, Iran's main proxy, and the Iranian regime to target not only Israeli and local Jewish organizations, but Western entities as well, as we saw in Georgetown and with the plot to kill the Saudi ambassador that was engineered by Iran, and recently, as of yesterday, in Canada with the Via passenger train in the Greater Toronto area that was targeted by 2 operatives who were sponsored by Qaeda in Iran.
Well, that's an interesting thing. A lot of folks have said, well, hang on, Al-Qaeda and Iran normally have not been teammates. At least that's been the conventional wisdom. Is there a new role for Iran within Sunni terrorist groups? Is there a rapprochement between these two formerly antithetical sects of Islam? Are they sort of putting aside their differences so they can all hate Israel together?
Well, I think there is a unifying theme, as you point out correctly, that the radical terror groups of the Shiite version and of the Sunni version, the common denominator is to attack Western countries and Israel. But at the same time, the story of Al-Qaeda and its support from Iran's regime, that's an old story. That's been going on since before 9/11 and after 9/11. There's been cases in Europe where European jihadists have traveled through Iran, received support from the Iranian regime, then went on to attack Pakistani American forces in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. I attended a conference here when I was in Germany dealing with this very question of...
We've got to wrap it up there. I'm so sorry to cut you off. I apologize. We're out of time. I'm grateful to you for joining us with this update. Thanks for bringing us the news that we just haven't heard in Canada yet.